And we're live. Welcome to Music Matters. My name is Jason Tramm, and thank you for joining us for a unique podcast community where we explore the triumphs and challenges of the performing arts world as seen through the eyes of distinguished colleagues. We're filming live from the Great Auditorium in Ocean Grove, New Jersey. All 6,500 seats worth of the Great Auditorium. I'm here with two delightful colleagues who have even more experience in this auditorium than I do. Once again, my name is Dr. Jason Tramm. I'm the Director of Music Ministries here at the Ocean Grove Camp Meeting. I've been in this position for 15 years, and these two people in front of me have been here longer. Please introduce yourselves. Dr. Cindy Bell.
Have I been here the longest?
Yes, you have.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Dr. Cindy Bell, yes. I grew up in this town, professional music professor at Hofstra University.
Shout out to Hofstra University.
Shout out to Hofstra, yes. Return to Ocean Grove every summer for the many beautiful gifts that it offers us. Surf, sand, scripture. This week, spiritual.
Yes.
That seems to be the theme of the summer. And happy to talk with you about the history of the choir, Jason.
We have a lot to talk about because you have such an experience as a singer, as growing up in this choir. We have a lot to talk about. And Michael Badger, the president of the Ocean Grove Camping Association.
Well, thank you, Jason. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with your audience and with you. I'm the president of the Camp Meeting Association. I've been on the board of trustees for 28 years. And we just recently, in 2019, celebrated the 150th anniversary of Ocean Grove Camp Meeting Association.
Amazing.
So now we're in 152, and just, it's a great place for music. And there's been just an incredible history of music here.
So why don't we talk about the space a little bit?
Space?
I know it was built in 1894 by shipbuilders in 45 days.
No, 90.
90 days.
Let's just keep it. Pretty soon it'll be a week. Oh, no.
7
days, right. Just like the Lord said. Build the auditorium in 7 days.
But the shipbuilders were under the strict restriction from cursing. There could be no cursing while building this.
And they couldn't work on Sundays either.
Yes.
Pretty amazing.
So I shouldn't plug the book, but although there's shameless plugging of books here, there is a really great book on the auditorium that I co-wrote with my dad, Ted Bell, and Darrell Dufresne, an engineer, and we spent about 10 years researching this building, and it was built in the style of the armories. As a matter of fact, the group that did the cast iron structure in the ceiling, you can't see it, did the Park Avenue Armory.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
The Milliken brothers from Staten Island. So they had a very particular vision here, Stokes. They put out for designs. They got some 30 designs. The trustees whittled it down, and they finally came to this specific design, which had this beautiful choir loft. But this is kind of funny. They didn't think about needing an organ to support the singing at that time. Mm-hmm. So the first summer, I don't think they really had much here. And then they got this tiny organ from Washington Square Methodist Church, and then they realized that's not going to work. So they had to have a fundraiser, and finally, was it 1908, the Hope Jones organ was built?
1908.
Yeah, so you can only have that kind of singing here with this structure, this wood, that organ, the organist, Gordon Turk.
Amazing, Dr.
And
Turk.
Jason Tramm, who's one in a long line of choir directors. It all works together to create such great singing.
Yeah, so one of the things I like about it is that it was built by shipbuilders, and when you look at it, it kind of looks
like Noah's Ark.
The bottom of a ship, and some of the early pilgrims, if you want to call them that would come here, would call it the Ark. And
I've heard that too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that they would think of it as just as Noah's Ark brought people to salvation, they saved them from death and everything like that, that they, through the waters. Well, this was where people were coming to be renewed and changed in Christ.
Did they also build that for acoustical reasons? Because the way this concave, like tortoise shell, both above and below, is the perfect space to make music. And this is one of the most unique spaces. You can go like this, or you just speak, and you can hear it at any point in the building, which is amazing in a 6,500 seat venue.
So they blended. Can I cut?
Go ahead.
In order to, they had a couple things in mind. One was the acoustics. They didn't have the amplification that you'd expect, and they wanted to be able to have it. The other thing, though, was cooling, because we're at the beach. We're only 2 blocks off the beach. They had built the streets so that there was a setback, and the wind would funnel in this direction. And then up at the top, you've got those grates there and the towers that are ventilation, and the air would come in through tunnels in the front, Literally, there were tunnels here that would come through and bring the air and then go out through the top. So they were thinking both acoustically as well as, creature comfort. How do we cool it off? Yeah.
Because 10,000 people generate a lot of body heat in 1894.
And today, too.
And everybody's wearing wool.
Yeah.
I've done, both of you we've done choir festivals in 100-degree weather. I remember distinctly, that's part of the, in July, it gets really warm and muggy here in New Jersey, and we just kind of make beautiful music.
Well, we're hardy people. Ocean Grove people are hardy. They just keep going right through the weather.
So tell us about Cindy. You have come from a family of historians. Your father was the historian, like a town historian.
Yes, he was.
And you were a historian both musically and history. So tell us about the music in the Great Auditorium.
Well, there's such a rich tradition here, not just of the sacred but the secular. So the first year was this building was built was a little tentative. What can we do? Because it was finished right on time. I think they putting in the finishing touches as the congregations were coming in. But the following year, 1895, was a very pivotal year because they could plan all winter rather than doing the bids. So they planned to do the Messiah here, and you and I have talked about this. In August of 1895, there was a Messiah in here on a Friday night, and it was attended by some 10,000 people with 2,000 people outside. Over 400 singers, and Walter Damrosch of New York fame,
Founder of the Juilliard School. Yep.
Oratorio Society, brought down trainloads of singers, trainloads of people, and it was such a huge event. They sold out of tickets very early in that week, but part of that appeal was up to that point something like a Messiah with a full orchestra on this space where we're sitting would only have been done in a major city.
Sure.
During key winter performance months. And here it was August, and you could walk with a 25-cent ticket. And that was sort of the first choir festival. But the one we're here to talk about tonight is actually continuous, everything. Then it sort of has a different slant to it. So there's a great tradition here of oratorio, sacred music, performing new works. You, Jason, have brought in New Jersey Opera and Symphony Orchestra with the Thursday night concerts. So it's just a very rich and amazing tradition of performance in this space.
And that was part of like the theology of the place. So coming out of the Civil War, so this,
Sure.
the camp meeting, the Ocean Grove Camp Meeting Association, founded in 1869, there was this need in the American people who were broken. They were depressed. Some of them, their bodies were broken, their families were broken. In so many different ways, they needed restoration. And so into that steps the holiness movement. And it wasn't about keeping rules and blue laws as much as it was, how do we have healthy living? What's the wholeness? How do we get recreated again? And so there were some things that now, we think of as rather restrictive, but the wisdom of the founders was to look at it and say, we need music. We need to have good teaching and good preaching. We need recreation. So the Ocean Grove Camp Meeting Association owns the beach. It owns the boardwalk, it owns the beach, it owns all of the land that the businesses and homes are on in Ocean Grove. And it wasn't like a side point of it, it was central, because people need music, they need recreation, they need healthy living, all of this, in order to be able to encounter God and to heal a community. And that sounds pretty good for like a day like today, right?
On Sunday we have such beautiful music here. We have the church services in the morning. We have church on the beach. We have music down there. We have music over here. We had a recital. There's so much great music around here. Last night we had Bridge Fest here, and there were thousands of people. I think 5,000 people were in here last night.
Zach Williams, the contemporary Christian singer.
I think it's so wonderful because I love all types of music. On this show we have everything from indie artists to classical to you name it. I just love the various types of music. But I just remember my first year in Choir Festival, I didn't plan the festival. It was planned by my predecessor, Lou Daniels, who became a very dear and kind of a mentor to me as I watched him that year, and we sat on his porch and talked. And to watch him lead that was such a special thing for me. It made such an impression as a young conductor. And just sit there and to experience the love of 700 people singing together, just making beautiful sound. It was transformative to me. And every year when I program the festival, I take it very serious. I take a whole week and I contemplate what is the theme going to be this year and how are we going to come back together. And it's nothing like it.
So that is one way. The fact that you now try to work around a theme, which I happen to like, because it presents a unified program for us. The Choir Festival originally started by Doc Eddowes, as they called him, and many people in this town remember the Eddowes because they were directors of music in here for 30 some odd years. Jason, you got 15 years to go on that. The Eddowes were here 33 to 65. So they were actually towards the end of their tenure when, in a tent over here, Anna Nichols' mother, the trustee, her mother, sat down Walter Eddowes at her table and said, "Why aren't we having other choirs here? Let's put together a choir festival." And Anna Nichols used to say, "The choir festival began at my kitchen table in my tent."
I love that.
And so what they did, they sent out some invitations to local churches and said, "We're going to take this Sunday in July." And at that point, they were singing sort of classic songs, like the Mendelssohn choruses, Handel choruses, Haydn choruses, a traditional classical choral rep.
So I first came, I was attracted to a young woman who became my wife in high school.
Who's singing in the choir now.
Yes.
And your daughter.
And my daughter's in the choir. So she was 16, I was 17. I lived on the other side of the railroad tracks and met her in junior
Neptune.
high. And sure enough, she says, "Want to come to a choir festival?" And I'm thinking, what? Like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, what? I go to the fireworks? Maybe, but, I had no idea. Like, well, you really better get there a half hour in advance in order to get a seat. I'm like, how could that auditorium sell out so we run out of seats? And sure enough, I came in and every seat was taken, and my future mother-in-law was reserving a seat for me, and there was like all this stress, and I come in and I take it, and then the music starts, and it blew me away. It just was amazing because I'd never been somewhere where there were that many voices singing. Like for me, like it was always like, well, if you have an amazing soloist, that's the thing.
Transformative.
That's the thing. And then I came here, and there's 13,000 pipes to an organ, and that's a testimony to just multiple things coming together to make something beautiful. And then there were these this over 1,000 voices beyond anything I'd ever experienced before, and they were making beautiful. And it was church in a way I'd never seen church before. It was music in a way that was so filled with beauty.
Here's a quote. I love this quote. This is in the Morris Daniels book. Morris Daniels did the 70th anniversary book of Ocean Grove. "If you want to hear such singing as you can hear nowhere else this side of heaven, go to a live camp meeting in Ocean Grove. The singing alone is enough to sweep down the powers of hell."
Love it.
1890. But really, people would come here. Now, we only have 6,500 seats now because we've put in newer chairs a little bit wider.
Less benches up top. Yep.
But still, to come in here and sing, "Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing," with 6,500 people is just, you use the word transforming. We've heard a lot of words of conform in Bible Hour last week.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
Great singing.
Great singing.
Great preaching.
Great preaching.
And that was when I came here, I said this is where I want to be. Because the music and the word, when they put them together, it creates a synergy that is so special and so powerful.
And when one of them isn't there, it's just you're incomplete, and it's part of getting that full balanced meal, and each one complementing the other. I just love also the invitation, because there's something about a choir that's very invitational. That says, come on in, be a part of this family, be a part of this, and I think that's all we got. Yeah. So come on in if you want to.
Yeah,
it's still
and
time.
This is a tradition where we invite everyone to come and sing, and that's what's fun about it. I meet singers who've worked with me. I've been in New Jersey my entire career, and I have people who were in my first choral society who knew me when I was in my first church. I mean, it's amazing how people cycle back in, and I'm just amazed with like the family we built with the singers here. And people come from all over. We have choirs from Pennsylvania, from New York, from New Jersey, of course, and then from abroad, from farther afield. It's just amazing that people come from Delaware to rehearse here on the Friday nights, and it's just so special that people will come here and brave the parking and all that stuff and just be a part of the tradition.
So I'm not supposed to flip the table on you, but I'm going to do it anyway. That is COVID last year, choir festival, and the online participation. Could you talk about that?
Well, I certainly can. So, there were problems with singing. There were problems, with the transmission of aerosolized particles. So we said, how can we still make music in this environment when we're all nervous about how can we make this a thing? So all of us started to search for ways to keep our communities together. And I quickly, I was learning about Zoom choir, having choir rehearsals on Zoom, and keeping communities together. I started that with my choral societies, and I knew of the virtual choir platform through Eric Whitaker's experiments. And I never thought much about it, to be honest. I'm like, what? But it's really interesting that people can do this, and I think it's fascinating. And then all of a sudden, there was no way to make music anymore. And we said, maybe we can do this at Ocean Grove. But the problem with it's like the scale. The amount of people we have here, and we have to teach everyone how to use it. So we came up with a promotional video to show people how to use the technology, to record themselves with a guide track, how to use their phone and then a computer, and amazingly, we had a really good reception from people. We had our first one, we had I think 80 singers submit, and we had singers from India submit choir files. We had someone from Australia who did every week was submitting files. I mean, our members who were scattered, some in Virginia, some in Florida, some in California, we had people submitting throughout the season, and it was really an amazing thing. We held our bi-weekly rehearsals, and we'd have 60 to 70 people in every one of them. People wanted to sing more than ever. It reminded me why I do this. It's not because I want to get up there and conduct, which I love to do. I love to move people's hearts, but it was to keep our community together in the worst of times. And to me, that was such a special thing. And then we said, let's try choir festival that way. 5 anthems. Usually we do 10 anthems. It may not sound like a lot, but each choir anthem takes about 20 hours of editing time. We have to get the files, sort the files, extract the files from the video, do the sound editing. It was enormous.
It's easier to do a choir festival live.
It actually is much easier. I mean, it's not easy, but it was an amazing experience, and I'm so proud of my choir here, the people who chose to do that, and my son, who's behind the curtain, he's the maestro behind the curtain, and we've become a team at that. We've done 100 virtual choir and orchestra projects during COVID period, and we just closed that chapter. We're ready to move on to the live choral singing again.
You're listening to Music Matters with Jason Tramm on WMCA.
This is a cool thing, is that the Ocean Grove Camping Association was established. It was incorporated not by an act of the New Jersey Treasury, like, an incorporation.
Legislature.
But by the state legislature, both houses. And in it, this is law, it says that it will be a permanent, convenient camp meeting and Christian seaside resort. And so all of these components we've been talking about, music and education and cultural, they're all a part of the fabric of who we are, and we're not giving it up. It's not ours to give away.
And that language has worked in our favor, even as we try to adjust to changing ministries. The Bridge Fest. We didn't have Bridge Fests back in the 40s. Right. We had other kinds of festivities, but that language has been very useful to us as a community to keep on growing.
Well, it's so amazing, the art. Think of the preachers who preached over the years. We talk about famous musicians. I know I'm an opera person. We have a lot of opera people on the show. We probably have some opera fans out there in the world. We've had Enrico Caruso sung on the stage. We've had Lawrence Tibbett. You name the host of famous singers sang here, and the host of famous speakers have spoken here. Who are some of the preachers who've spoken here, Michael?
Billy Sunday.
Billy Sunday came for years and years and years. very famous. He, very animated. Would get up on the pulpit even, and, do these things. Billy Graham.
Billy Graham?
You know.
Wait, was he here?
Yes, in the 50s.
Oh, that's before I was here.
You don't remember that?
No, I missed that.
No, 55,
Norman
58,
Vincent Peale.
59. Norman Vincent Peale.
Robert Schuller
Yep.
came, heard him speak here. I actually was I'm looking at my notes because there's so much to remember. It slips out.
And like more current, I think of Chaplain Black, Barry Black.
We were just talking about him on the beach
Huge
today.
fan of the choir festival.
Yes.
Singing.
Yeah, just an
We were wondering how
awesome,
Barry
deep voice.
Black would sound in the new sound system because he's got such a big, deep,
He's a very
deep
basso
voice,
profundo.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's got a rich
So
history.
if you're going to have great preachers, you have to have great music. You can't.
Great singing,
Great singing,
great preaching.
Great preaching.
And that was when I came here, I said this is where I want to be, because the music and the word, when they put them together, it creates a synergy that is so special and so powerful.
And when one of them isn't there, it's just you're incomplete. And it's part of getting that full balanced meal and each one complementing the other. I just love also the invitation, because there's something about a choir that's very invitational. That says, come on in, be a part of this family, be a part of this, and I think that's all we got. Yeah. So come on in if you want to.
Yeah,
it's still
and
time.
This is a tradition where we invite everyone to come and sing, and that's what's fun about it. I meet singers who've worked with me. I've been in New Jersey my entire career, and I have people who were in my first choral society who knew me when I was in my first church. I mean, it's amazing how people cycle back in, and I'm just amazed with the family we built with the singers here. And people come from all over. We have choirs from Pennsylvania, from New York, from New Jersey, of course, and then from abroad, from farther afield. It's just amazing that people come from Delaware to rehearse here on the Friday nights, and it's just so special that people will come here and brave the parking and all that stuff and just be a part of the tradition. Thank you for joining us on Music Matters with Jason Tramm. To end this episode, we will play one of our favorite anthems, When I Survey the Wondrous Cross, arranged by Gilbert Martin. I conducted this live performance at the Ocean Grove Choir Festival in 2017, and there were over 700 singers in the choir. I hope that you can join me for the 67th Annual Ocean Grove Choir Festival on July 11th at 7 p.m. in the historic Great Auditorium of Ocean Grove. For more information, be sure to visit www.oceangrove.org. Again, that's www.oceangrove.org.
Music Matters with Jason Tramm is produced by Mid-Atlantic Artistic Productions, with Jason Tramm as the host and executive producer, and Quentin Tramm as the producer and technical director. Music Matters has quickly become the fastest-growing musical culture podcast on YouTube, recently surpassing over 30,000 episode views, and is pleased to join the roster of radio shows on WMCA, New York City. We hope that you can join us next week. Until then, keep music alive.